Welcome everyone to the monthly board meeting for Ignite CDA, Coeur d'Alene's Urban Renewal Agency, the month of July already. If you'll stand and help me with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. It's time for public comment. Is there any public comment? Please come forward. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I motion that we approve the consent calendar for the meeting minutes, June 16th, the payables as submitted, and the district monthly financial statements.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks. Now on to committee reports. Parking Commission, Commissioner Jordan.
In the interest of time, this month, Mr. Chairman, I don't have a report. I'll have an update for you on the parking fee revenue next month.
Okay, appreciate it. Finance Committee, Commissioner Arman.
We already did that by a consent calendar.
But this has to do with the
budget. Okay.
upcoming
Sorry about
Trying
that.
to get by.
Yeah, so we've already gone through all that with the consent calendar. Tony, you're on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Tim.
and it's the long month too.
Jeff, can I have control of the screen? I need to pull up a file.
You should have it.
I should, there I am, okay. Let me get back up there. Lost it. Okay, I think we got it. So, first item here for the Finance Committee is the discussion of the fiscal year 2021 amended budget. I have a copy for you all on the dais up there, and I have a screenshot for the viewing audience. I'm going to review the amended budget, and so the process that we use for this fiscal year amended budget, we'll kind of review this budget at the July board meeting, and then you guys will authorize publication of the amended budget prior to the August board meeting, where we'll have a public hearing on the amended budget. So kind of walking through the budget, the amended items are outlined in red on the paper and on the screen there. So beginning with the Lake District on the revenue side, on line 1, the October 2021 amended funding balance of $2.98 million versus a budgeted of $155 million. The reason for this increased value is due to the Atlas Waterfront project not being completed as planned in fiscal year 2020. So we had a rollover on that project. Property divestitures line 8, the $700,000 value represents the railroad right-of-way sale to Bear Waterfront. The amended budget shows no proceeds associated with the Midtown DDA or Atlas areas 12 and 13. So that's why you see that variance. On Lake District expenditures, on the capital acquisition expense, line 26, $0 were originally budgeted, and the amended budget has $500,879, which was spent on the Sherman Square Park property acquisition. On the debt, interest non-OPAs IRAs, line 27, this is a bit higher than budgeted due to Washington Trust Bank recalculation of P&I owed on debt obligations, and that same explanation applies to line 28, which is the principal. This is a bit higher due to Washington Trust Bank recalculation of P&I owed on that debt obligation. Agency funded programs, line 31, this line item has the following budget costed. This was the original budgeted cost line items. Miscellaneous projects in Coeur d'Alene 2030 was $85,000. Reimbursement to the city for costs associated with the Atlas project was $1.83 million. The La Crosse roadway project was $1.8 million, and the McEwen Park shade elements of $100,000 for a total of $3.8 million. The amended budget value shows miscellaneous projects in Coeur d'Alene 2030 at $85,000 still. Reimbursement to the city for costs associated with the Atlas project is $0. The Cross project, roadway project remains at $1.8 million, and the McEwen Park Shade Elements also remains the same at $100,000, but the change is the Atlas waterfront project cost carryover from fiscal year 2020 is $1.4 million. So we have a total of $3.4 million. Partnership agreements, OPAs and IRAs, line 32, the amended value includes Lake Apartments IRA payments that were not included in the original budget. As you recall, we brought that IRA in after the budget was approved. Planning, line 30, amended value reduced to 0, and the same for the special project reserve, line 34, amended value reduced to 0. Switching over to the River District, on the revenue side, interest and miscellaneous funds, line 6, is $0 in the amended budget for this line item since the Health Corridor District does not yet have sufficient funds to pay back the River District. On the property divestitures, line 8, $1.6 million value represents the sale of Atlas Areas 1 and 6. The amended budget shows no proceeds associated with the sales of Atlas Areas 8 or 10 that were included in the original budget. On the River District expenditures, professional services, line 16, the original budgeted value increased substantially, mainly due to increased legal counsel costs associated with the Atlas project. Agency-funded programs, line 31. This line item has the following budgeted cost elements. Atlas Phase 1 Improvement Fund, $610,000. Payment to the Lake District for Health Corridor planning expenses, $360,000. Reimbursement to the city for costs associated with the Atlas project, $1.9 million. Loan funds to the Atlas District of $500,000 for a total of $3.3 million. The amended budget value follows. Atlas Phase 1 Improvement Fund, $1.4 million. Payment to the Lake District for Health Corridor planning expenses was $360,000. Reimbursement to the city for costs associated with the Atlas project was $0. Loan funds to the Atlas District was $1.53 million for a total of $3.3 million. Special Project Reserve, line 34, reduced from $350,000 to $150,000. Moving to the Atlas District, the revenues, the beginning fund balance, line 1, moderately lower than budgeted. Property divestitures, line 8, $2.1 million versus value represents the sale of Atlas Areas 1 and 2. The amended budget shows no proceeds associated with the sales of Atlas Area 12 that was included in the original budget. River District loan, line 9, $500,000 in original budget. Amended budget increased loan amount to $1.53 million. On the expenditure side, professional services, line item 16. The amended budget value depicts that the majority of the Atlas project costs were allocated to the River District for FY21 due to lack of funds in the Atlas District. Agency-funded programs, line 31. This line item has the following budgeted cost elements. Atlas Phase 1 construction, $640,000. Atlas Phase 2 construction, $2.3 million. Atlas Phase 3 construction, $131,000 for a total of $3.1 million. The amended budget shows Atlas Phase 1 and 2 construction, $2.2 million, and Atlas Phase 3 construction of $0, so a total of $2.2 million. And the Special Project Reserve, line 34, $200,000 was the original budget value, and we decreased that to 0. On the Health Corridor District, no amendments to the budgeted revenues. And for expenditures, the agency-funded programs, line 31, $0 in the amended budget for this line item since the Health Corridor District does not yet have sufficient funds to pay back the River District. Went through that fairly quickly. Be willing to entertain any questions you have as we look to amend the budget for fiscal year 2021.
Questions?
If not, I'd look for a motion to go ahead and publish the amended budget with a public hearing scheduled for August 18th.
I move we approve the amended budget for 2020-2021.
Second?
Seconded. Any discussion?
Tony, is the motion that you're looking for just to publish it and not approve it?
Correct. We will approve it
Next time,
at
right.
the August board meeting.
Right, so we just,
Or we have a public hearing.
Yes, so the motion would be just to publish it and then approval would come next time.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks. Motion carries. 2022 budget.
draft.
So the next item on the agenda is the discussion of the proposed FY 2022 budget. Just to remind the board that under Idaho urban renewal law, urban renewal agencies are required to prepare and finalize budgets prior to September 1st of each year. Therefore, the Ignite board needs to review draft budgets at the July board meeting and authorize publication of draft budgets prior to the August board meeting where a public hearing is held. You'll recall we're the first out of the gate on budgeting, which is not the best thing to be since we have to estimate quite a few parameters. So just kind of walk through the overview of the budget here for the Lake District. The key budget items, our estimated beginning fund balance is about $2.6 million. Total revenues are estimated at $7.4 million. Total expenses of $6.5 million. And estimated ending fund balance of $3.5 million. So in a little bit more detail, on the revenue side, we have estimated tax increment of $5.9 million and Ignite CDA property divestitures of $1.5 million. This is Atlas Project Area 13 and a small percentage of Area 12, which is about 3% of Area 12 and is in the Lake District and 97% of Area 12 is in the River District. On the expenses, professional services, $56,200. This line item contains costs for external contract accounting services, legal services, FY 2021 audit expense, and other professional services. Public art, which is on line 25 of the sheet there. Let's see if I can move this down a little bit for the viewing audience. That is $59,200. This will be transferred to the city's Public Arts Commission at 1% of increment. So this will be the final transfer of public art dollars to the city from the Lake District. Debt interest on line 27, $50,194. These are interest payments on the Washington Trust Bank Lake District debt obligation. Debt capital, line 28, $2.9 million, or mostly $3 million principal payments on the Washington Trust Bank debt obligations. So for the agency funded programs, line 31, we have $3,040,446. So on your third page of your packet there, I have a listing of these items, and I'm going to page down here so the folks in the viewing audience can see them. So this is a draft of the agency-funded public improvements for the Lake District. So we have Coeur d'Alene 2030 contract in there of $25,000. Atlas project, this is a city reimbursement for the city property acquisition funds of $1.8 million. We have Lacrosse roadway extension funds of $360,000. So I placed that in there because I've been counseled from our professionals that the chances of the Lacrosse project being completed by the end of this fiscal year is slim. So we're going to have some bleed over, and they estimate about a certain percentage, which I've budgeted for. My guess is I'll be coming back to you in August with a little bit higher number than you see here because of it bleeding a little bit more heavily into FY 22. So either way, we'll spend the $1.8 million, but I was hoping to get it all spent in fiscal year 21, but I don't think that's going to happen. The Museum of North Idaho, we have in here for new location site development, $700,000. McEwen Park shade elements, we have in there for $100,000, and the Sherman Square Park additional funding of $25,000. So there's your total of $3 million. I understand that the city council is going to be looking at a budgeting workshop at the end of this month, and I think they'll have maybe some more input for board consideration on some of the items that you see are not funded here. Then we can come back when we look at this in August to see if the board wants to make any modifications to the agency-funded public improvements in the Lake District. We did note that the city is in their budgeting process is not fully sure yet if they'll be able to have any partnership funding for the Museum of North Idaho project that we talked about. There was supposed to, the idea of a matching funding amount to the agency's input, but I think that is on hold as the city kind of works on their budgeting strategy. So it'll be up to the board to see whether or not you want to move forward with the $700,000 that is in the draft budget. We can have that conversation in August. Chairman Hoskins, do you have anything to add on that, or?
Nope, that sounds good.
Tony, so you're gonna look for approval to publish this as a draft budget for FY '22. Are there any constraints on what changes we can make to this between the published draft and the board approval next month?
No.
No, okay, thank you.
So, in a special project line, item 34, move back up here a little bit, back to the overall budget. We have $100,000 on line 34 for special project reserve for the Lake District. So moving to the River District, estimated beginning fund balance of $987,000, total revenues $6.3 million, total expenses $3.1 million, estimated ending fund balance of $4.2 million. A little bit more detail on the revenue side, estimated tax increment is $1.7 million. Proposed 2019 note draw from the bank is $0. So we think with all of the action going on in the River District and the Atlas District on the Atlas project, we will not need to draw any of the funds associated with our $7 million note. Ignite CDA property divestitures, line 8 is $4.6 million. This is for project areas 8 and 10. We go down expenses, professional services line item, $38,600. Once again, these are budgeted line items, cost for external contract, accounting services, legal services, FY 2021 audit expense, and other professional services. Public art, line 25, $17,467. This is at the 1% of increment revenue realized level. Agency funded programs of $1.9 million. This is $0 budgeted for the Atlas project. The majority of these funds are targeted for city reimbursement for city property acquisition funds of $1.7 million and city reimbursement for city imported fill material costs associated with the Atlas project of $153,068. Also, we have the Riverstone shade, park shade elements of $30,000. As you recall, we were approached for the shade elements at the Riverstone Park. They weren't able to pull that project off this year. It's been pushed to next year, so the performers out there are kind of getting sunburned and are not real happy, but they just, the footings apparently need to go much deeper out there than they realized, and they needed to get some specialized equipment, so it's been postponed for a year. We have a special project reserve on line 34 of $350,000 for the River District. Moving on to the Atlas District. Estimated beginning fund balance of $1.19 million. Total revenues, $7.2 million. Total expenses, $6.5 million. Estimated funding ending fund balance of $1.9 million. On the revenue side, estimated tax increment line 4 of $30,992. Once again, this is fairly low because there really is no taxable value out in the Atlas District yet. It's going to be there, but it's not there yet. Ignite CDA property divestitures, line 8, $7.2 million. This value represents sales of Atlas project areas 3, 4, 5A, 5B, and 12. As far as expenses for professional services, we have $106,700. Public art, line 25, $310, which represents the 1% of increment. Agency funded programs, $6,155,000. This is all budgeted for Atlas Phase 2 and 3 improvements. So we've got a lot of money going into capital improvements in the Atlas project in the Atlas District. And we have a special project reserve line, line 34 of $200,000. And finally, the Health Corridor District, estimated beginning fund balance of $263,000, total revenues $224,000, total expenses $86,000, estimated ending fund balance of $401,000. Closer look on the revenues, estimated tax increment $224,000. On expenses, Professional services, $6,700. Public art, line 25, $2,245. And we have planning of $50,000 in case the board would like to do any further planning in the health corridor district. Once again, I'll entertain any questions you have. This is our best estimate on revenues and projected expenses for the districts, for the 4 districts. These revenues, as I shared in an email to you in a memo, the tax increment revenues will be less than I'm budgeted for because we do not know the levy rates that the cities and the taxing entities are going to develop. The value's high, the valuation is high, so I'm assuming the levy rates will go down. So those starting numbers will decrease, most likely, like they do every year. But we really have no better way to estimate that than kind of using what we have right now. So just knowing that they're going to go down, that's why we have healthy fund balances on each of the districts to compensate for that.
Okay. Any questions on the draft 2022 budget? And I'll entertain a motion then to publish it.
So moved.
Moved and
Second.
seconded. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, Tony. That motion carries.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, is the fiscal year 2021 audit, the Hoover CPA engagement. I've shared with you a copy of the proposed audit engagement letter. Basically, the audit engagement letter is exactly the same as last year, with the one caveat that Mr. Hoover's asked to increase his audit fee from $8,000 to $10,000, an increase of $2,000. I discussed this with the Finance Committee. They're supportive of that. It's becoming a more complex audit, especially with the accounting, the governmental accounting associated with the Atlas project. It's quite interesting to see how the auditor has to look at that with the construction in progress type of accounting. And I've engaged the help of a Welch-Comer organization to help the auditor track the ins and outs, the goings, and how much goes to the city through city right-of-way. When the roads are finished, those go to the cities. We have to account for that, and we have to put values on that. So it's a very encompassing endeavor, to say the least. So
Okay.
that's a little increased fee.
And you need a motion to approve that?
Yes, sir.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the Executive Director's Report. You just get to keep on
I'm
talking.
still at bat here, Mr. Chairman. First item is the Capone Settlement Agreement and Midtown Ventures LLC DDA Amendment. I shared these documents with you. Basically, the amendment to the DDA specifies that Ignite CDA's involvement in the Midtown Ventures LLC project only pertains to the agency's Midtown ownership property and not other privately owned property. And the Capone Settlement Agreement dismisses Ignite CDA from the lawsuit based upon the aforementioned DDA amendment and the agency's willingness to accept the outcome of the court's decision on the parking agreement associated with the Capone-Butler litigation. Look for a motion if the board is agreeable to move forward.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? That's good to hear.
Yes, it is.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item, once again, I'm going to try to pull another graphic up here, Jeff. So this next agenda item is the Atlas Project River's Edge Sewer Agreement Completion Extension Ratification. So just for background on this project, Ignite CDA entered into an agreement with Lance Douglas to construct a needed sewer line connection across the is Atlas area property to tie Ignite CDA's Atlas project into the existing sewer line located at Mill River. For the city's Mill River annexation agreement, the Mill River developer or successor Mill River HOA is required to facilitate the sewer line connection. So the Atlas area sewer line connection to the Mill River sewer line was designed years ago to be a straight line connection, which you kind of see indicated by red on this graphic on the screen. It's supposed to be a straight line connection. So there is sewer in the ground, as that red line indicates. Since homes have now been built and walls constructed, the city is working with the HOA to facilitate the sewer connection in the least obtrusive manner. In other words, to not knock down walls and dig up trees and landscaping. Thus, the city is proposing a modified sewer design. The modified sewer design is outlined in blue. You can see where the current sewer extension has stopped at this manhole. And the idea is to construct a sewer line along the blue line and come into the existing manhole in Mill River as indicated. This will not do as much destruction, and they can go under the wall and make that connection. The city, the HOA, and Mr. Douglas are all agreeable to the modified sewer line connection. The city and the HOA are handling the additional costs and needed sewer easement. However, due to the city HOA situation, Mr. Douglas stopped construction of the sewer connection until a solution was agreeable to all parties. Mr. Douglas requested Ignite CDA grant an extension to the agency's agreement that calls for the sewer to be completed, connected, tested, and operational by July 1st, with Ignite CDA then paying Mr. Douglas $150,000 by July 15th. Mr. Douglas had no control or awareness regarding the city HOA issue that has been daylighted and so stopped sewer line construction, so no fault on his part for the needed possible agreement extension. Council Quaid and myself discussed this issue with Chairman Hoskins, who was agreeable to an extension to the agreement. Mr. Douglas indicated that he would restart sewer line construction on July 12th, which he has, and proposed an agreement extension to July 30th. Ignite CDA's $150,000 payment to Mr. Douglas would then be postponed and due by August 13th. I would look to the board to ratify this River's Edge sewer completion extension agreement between the agency and Mr. Douglas as initiated on June 30th, 2021. And as a side note, I was informed today by Mr. Boyd that that sewer line connection has been established. So it's being tested and hopefully will be operational fairly soon.
Excellent.
I make a motion that we ratify the River Edge Sewer Agreement completion extension as outlined by our executive director.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you, sir. The next item is a update on the Atlas project. But before I bring Mr. Boyd up, I'd like to show, Jeff, once again, I'm going to need to grab that screen if I can. I'd like to show a short video. We have no sound. I'd like to give credit to Teree Taylor with the Chamber, and we use Teree to help with a lot of these projects. He put this video together, and with the help of the Welch Comer team, I think it does a good job just kind of showing you over time about the amount of work and effort that has been placed in bringing this world-class park to fruition. So it's looking great. Still a little bit more work to be done, but it's a job well done. So just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you.
Now, without further ado, Mr. Phil Boyd will share with you.
Chairman Hoskin, board members,
Mr. Boyd.
having me. So I'll do a little bit of the monthly update here. And I'll just start with the waterfront park that you saw there. Ongoing is really punch list items that are happening out there. Probably the most obvious thing you see when you go out there, if you've been out there, is the weed content. That's a product we've determined. You remember the great idea of reusing this topsoil for Mount Hank, and it saved us $100,000. Well, it came with a little bit of a price. That, to La Riviere's credit, they're taking care of it. They've gone and killed everything a couple of times, reseeded, and now they're mowing and using broadleaf weed killer to get rid of that stuff, and have been working with a seed specialist. So it's moving along. There's a few other punch list items that have to go on out there. Phase 1 infrastructure improvements. I'll show you some pictures of the road and alley paving that have about 75% complete. The rest of it's going to happen on July 30th. The raised intersection works, which occurs after the initial paving, will happen. We'll get going here, and La Riviere is preparing roadside landscaping pricing. This is the image that the board represents what the board had approved the concept of. I talked about this last month, and it's a little bit of a struggle this time of year to get pricing out of the contractors because they're out harvesting, and to try to get them to provide pricing to us. So we're about a month behind. It doesn't necessarily impact pricing or our schedule, but it's just kind of the situation that we're in. These are some pictures of the paving. This is Atlas Road here, so the park is on your left, and you can see that the contractors have wasted no time of occupying the space here, getting right on top of the brand new asphalt. On this location, it doesn't matter to us too much because there's a second lift of asphalt to go on there. In the alley, you can see some of the marks in here that they've already made to the asphalt. Some of this is just unavoidable, small marks. Other parts of it are avoidable with a little bit of care and feeding. We don't have control over these folks. The city does. And so we've been extremely concerned that the asset that you are paying for is going to get damaged and won't get repaired. So we've been working closely with the city, Chris Bosley, to make sure that we have this idea that before a CO happens there, if there's damage, it gets taken care of before the CO gets issued, and Chris is on board with that. So we're well aware of it. There's places where activities like this have cracked the curb line, sidewalks have been cracked, and we're going through and just video logging it and making sure that the city's aware of it. Phase 2 infrastructure improvements, just to remind the board, down here is Phase 2A, and up here is Phase 2B. The improvements, the infrastructure plans are at the city for permitting. La Riviere has provided initial infrastructure pricing to us that we're evaluating. And so the idea here is we're looking at La Riviere's pricing from Phase 1, which occurred in 2020. We're looking at other projects that have been bid recently and comparing the pricing with the intent that we're going to go through and negotiate with La Riviere on some of their pricing elements. We're also waiting on their schedule. One of the things that they're struggling with is they can get pipe, they can get cement for the concrete, they can get lots of things, but what they can't get is fittings for the water lines. So we're trying to get a conclusion out of them about what the impact to our Phase 2A schedule will be. Phase 2B, we're finishing up those plans. Those were delayed a little bit as we were working on this area, on Area 8. The board might recall that John Butler was a successful proposal on that, and he wanted to reconfigure that. So we kind of had to pause for a second while we redid the phase one infrastructure, which had some impact on Phase 2B and Phase 2A. Again, it doesn't materially impact our RFP schedule, which I'll show you here in a little bit. Just a couple pictures. I showed these last night at City Council. Tony and I made a presentation there. I've gleaned out some of the background history that you guys are well aware of, but some of the photos here show how the park's coming along. It looks good here. The folks are down there enjoying it. You see people down here swimming and the dogs running around. This is over at the inlet, and you can kind of see the proximity. This picture shows the proximity of those homes to the waterfront park and how appealing that is. This is another nice photo, pointing out to the council last night what that old corridor looked like. And we had suspected there was a beach. Well, we demonstrated through geotechnical analysis that there was a beach in there, and that's what we went back and restored. And several of the Ignite board members deserve credit for a walk we took out there one time, and they might remember, I think it was Commissioner Jordan and Commissioner Arman, the beach was pretty rugged at the time, and they made the comment, we can't leave it like that. And so what you see in here, this rock wall and landscaping in here, the board provided additional funding that allowed that to happen. You can see here the ADA picnic area and the route down to the swim area and the kayak launch. A couple of pictures of the trail. Here kind of gives you a good shot, as you can see, headed down to the ADA swim area here, the swim access. I mentioned last night to the council, there's a sign going up to provide some education to the general community that this is really reserved for or dedicated for those that need it. So we worked on some diplomatic wording, I'll say. We put it together. I ran it through Bill Greenwood. He sent it over to Disability Action Committee, who's been a partner in giving us feedback on things that are important to the community citizens that need that. And they vetted the wording, and you'll see a sign that goes up right there. We're also contemplating actually putting the handicap symbol that you see in parking areas on the ramp headed down there, so it kind of cues people as you're headed down there. And again, you're not going to prevent some of the folks that get on there. The teenagers, I think I mentioned before, had destroyed some of the railing down there, and we had to reinforce it.
Yeah, I'm curious how they destroyed that. I was looking at that last week, and it looks pretty strong.
Yeah, it's
They tried to pull it loose?
well, it was this
vandalizing
section
it?
right down here.
Oh,
And so if you were to get down there, that's the new section. It was originally a product that is comes in pieces. It gets assembled with set screws, and it's intended for uses like this. It's not intended for people standing on it and going back and forth and jumping into the water and 10 or 12 teenagers hanging off of it. So we pulled that and replaced it with a much more rigid structure. This is pictures of the dog park here, and you can kind of see the activity. If you happen to be down there, it is a well-used dog park. Another picture looking back here, you see the playground. You can see the weed infestation down in that area. So the RFP schedule, Tony and I have, I've been kind of putting this map together, and then Tony made some suggestions that I continued to add to it. So there's a ton of information on here intended to capture a lot of different things that might be important to folks that are interested. One is the area numbering here. You can see this, and we talk about the different areas that are up for sale. The other thing that I've put on here is the planned usage. So this is 84 multifamily units, 66 multifamily units. I've summarized down here the totals. Some of these are speculative. So you see up here it says 16 townhomes or 6 single family. That was a portion of the triangle parcel that the city contributed to the effort. And so the city wanted to see that be put out to the market and see what was most attractive to developers, whether they wanted to do townhomes or single family. Currently, RFP 1 that went out in July 2020, so it's these 4 parcels in Area 6 over here. So those are under 1 and 2, you saw pictures of. 6, you can see right here. So to get your bearings, there's Mount Hink in the background, Celtice Way, Here's Suzanne coming in here, and Active West's property, you can see he's got a couple homes, duplexes, townhomes under construction there. And RFP 2, which was the one that was put out in March. John Butler was successful on this parcel and this parcel, John and Ann Butler. And those things are moving forward. They've executed the A&E, they're moving on to the DDA. RFP 3 is out on the street, so to speak, and it's for areas 3 and 4 here. And those solicitations open or close in August. Lots of interest in those. Bigger, more outside folks from the west side, and one national company is also expressing some interest. 4, we estimate that that's going to go out in 2022, and 5, these two here, kind of the ones that have the largest commercial elements to them, will go out in Q3 2022. That could adjust a little bit, but that's the plan. And then 6 would be, RFP 6 would be the area up in here in 2023. And so you can kind of see the breakdown. It is an estimate based on what happens in some of these areas that could go both ways. But 107 single family, 171 multifamily, and then 125 townhomes. So pretty good mix that we anticipate happen there, and about 8,000 square feet of commercial or retail or restaurant in there. Showed you that picture. And then this is a picture looking back towards the west here. You can see that here's the park down here, Atlas Road, Celtics Way roundabout is up here, and you can see the homes under construction down here. This is prior to paving. Any questions on that, or? Okay. There's the sign. That's the one that requires final board approval. And I've got some of the old versions I can cycle through. Dell's not here, obviously, because he thinks we're there. We had sent this out. I think I sent it to Tony, and he sent it out to the board for responses. We had one response back, and the comment was about how these letters weren't popping as much. And so what Dell did is, and it's a little bit hard to tell in here, but he went in and he increased the width of the letters. They were narrower before. And so he went in and he increased the width. The sign is actually smaller now. Before, that's one of the versions. It was like 14 feet from here to here. It exceeds the city's standard sign width. So we potentially could have accomplished it, but we would have had to go back for a PUD amendment. And it just, at the end of the day, it just isn't worth that. That scale is actually pretty nice. I actually like it a little bit better. It's a little more compact to me. But these are, I think, the decisions that reflect the board's guidance that you see up here. So that was the one action item I had for the board tonight. If it's approved, and we can move forward with it.
So was the wood-looking part, is there wood, or did we agree all that's all going to be colored concrete on there?
This component here is actually a powder-coated steel.
Right, what above it, though?
This
the beams?
is powder-coated steel as well.
So it's steel, okay.
Yep,
I
the
couldn't remember if
whole
it's
thing is
concrete or
either,
steel or
yep,
something.
it's steel or concrete.
So we don't really have any real wood in there, that's all out of there, okay,
Nope.
great.
The most unreal part of it is the fake rock down here. But it's still a durable material.
As long as it's imitation, I mean, genuine imitation rock.
Yeah,
I like it.
good. The board's input really, I think, improved it over time, which is kind of the point, to make sure it kind of reflects all the things that are important.
I think
to
it's
folks.
nice, and probably in person it'll look even better than it does in that picture right there.
Yes, well, get the landscaping and stuff around it. So you need a motion?
Yep, I think we do.
Yes, please.
What, we accept the concept of that?
Yes.
Yeah, I just,
From the concept, the design.
yeah, we accept the design of I motion we accept the design of the
Second.
Atlas waterfront sign.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We have
Motion
signage.
carries.
Very good. That's all I have, Chairman Hoskins, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd.
Thank you.
It's time for board commissioner comments. Any comments from any commissioner? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thanks, we're adjourned, and that's a wrap, Jeff.
That's pretty good.
10 minutes.